Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video for today. So you might not notice it, but there was pretty big news that came out today. Well, Alphabet Google is only up 1.5%. It was actually at 180% during the day. It's up 12 point something percent over the past month. But the news that came out recently was a pretty big deal. I'm talking here about a deal between Google Cloud and OpenAI. Yes, you've heard it correctly. So let's go over all of that. Let's also go over a couple of, things that were mentioned with regards to search traffic. All of that in this video. If you enjoy this type of videos, hit all the buttons. Would really appreciate that, especially the subscribe one. Trying to reach 100,000 subscribers, so hit that red button. It's free. You can always unsubscribe later on. And if you want to support me even further, do check out the link down in the description and in the pinned comment with the top 10 best stocks to buy now, or go to fool.com/couchinvestor. Thank you very much. All right, so first up, let's talk about quickly the search traffic thing that came out. If you missed the live stream today, we discussed this already. So Google is no longer just a search engine. It's becoming what Nicholas Thompson calls an answer engine. That's because users are increasingly getting what they need directly from the search page without ever clicking a link. Now, that was also part of the bear case previously, and that's when people just use chatbots, don't use search anymore, which means they don't use Google anymore, which would mean that Google's advertising revenue would plummet. But no, people are using Google. People are actually, using Google way more, because now with AI overuse, now with AI mode, everything is of course powered by Gemini, you get better answers. That's just a fact. They've been talking about that. They've been showing us a couple of charts as well during their event. So yeah, clearly they're doing what they should be doing. So they continue by saying here, search engines used to send massive referral traffic to digital media, but that's changed fast. Huffington Post has seen its organic search traffic cut by more than half in the last 3 years. The Washington Post saw nearly the same drop. Business Insider lost 55% of its organic traffic between 2022 and April 2025, and recently cut 21% of its staff, partially because of the collapse in traffic. And we can see this right here, digital traffic from organic searches monthly. And this is based on organic search totals for desktop and mobile web. So yeah, clearly, especially for Business Insider, they've seen a huge drop in the last couple of years. The others, yes, have seen a drop, although the Wall Street Journal has seen, it's been flat. Let's be honest, it's been flat. The others have seen a drop, especially more recently in the last, I would say, year or so. Business Insider is down a lot, Washington Post is down a lot, Huffington Post is down a lot as well. Might have to do, yes, with the fact that Google search now is, of course, AI powered. You get better answers. AI overview is extremely popular right now. And those websites suck. Okay, that can also be a case that the content on their website is just bad. Maybe they lie, maybe they're not accurate. Just people get their information from maybe my videos, maybe on X, maybe on other platform. That can basically explain this whole story. But of course, going forward, yes, it's going to be an issue, right? Because if you run a website and you generate revenue because, you have advertising on your website, but now you have way less people clicking and going on your website, that's going to be an issue, of course. So in the future, I assume there is going to be some licensing deals, maybe. You will have fewer websites. You will just have fewer websites, and we're all going to spend our time just getting straight out answers with our favorite chatbot. Moving on to the OpenAI and Google part of this video. Now remember, OpenAI, pretty close to Microsoft, so this happening is a pretty big deal. And so we've got this report here, exclusive on Reuters. OpenAI taps Google in unprecedented cloud deal despite AI rivalry. So it's pretty long, but I think it's worth reading through it. I'll just remove this already. So OpenAI plans to add Alphabet's Google Cloud service to meet its growing needs for computing capacity. 3 sources told Reuters, marking a surprising collaboration between 2 prominent competitors in the AI sector. And Does this make sense? Does it surprise us? Maybe because, well, of their close relationship with Microsoft. But knowing how well Google Cloud is operating, especially from a cost structure, it would make sense. And now, of course, from a Google Alphabet side of things, they are not seeing this maybe as a threat to a Gemini or something like that. No, they see this as a huge opportunity for Google Cloud to accelerate its growth. I'll continue. The deal, which has been under discussion for a few months, was finalized in May, one of the sources added. It underscores how massive computing demands to train and deploy AI models are reshaping the competitive dynamics in AI and marks OpenAI's latest move to diversify its compute sources beyond its major supporter, Microsoft, including its high-profile Stargate data center project. It's a win for Google's cloud unit, which will supply additional computing capacity to OpenAI's existing infrastructure for training and running its AI models. This move also comes as OpenAI's ChatGPT poses the biggest threat to Google's dominant search business in years, with Google executives recently saying that the AI race may not be winner takes all. And we've been talking about this so much more recently on this channel. You know me, I'm very bullish on Google. I think it's still very undervalued. And every time I talked about this, whether it's on my videos or in the live streams with Jose, we talk about the whole of the Google business. Yes, it's true. The majority of their revenue and operating income at the moment still comes from the advertising side of the business. But as Google Cloud grows, it will become a larger chunk of the overall revenue and in turn will become a larger chunk of the overall profit of this business. So yes, while in the future there is a possibility where advertising revenue will come down a bit, but I do think that Google Cloud and YouTube and the rest will just grow more and that the negative impact will just not be as negative as the market thinks it will be. Plus, right now, if you remember, right, revenue is expected to grow around 10% or so in each of the coming fiscal years, but free cash flow is expected to grow way faster than that. 18.4% in the next fiscal year, and then another 20.5% the year after that, so in fiscal 2027. Now, I've shown you this, and yes, again, it's the same comparison. Google net income and Apple net income. Clearly, since 2022, Google net income has grown just much, much faster than Apple's, and Apple has been flat and actually decreasing more recently. But going back to Google, so the majority of the revenue, right, $50.7 billion last quarter came from Google search and other revenue, right? This is the overall business. So Google search, YouTube ads, Google network, Google subscriptions, Google Cloud. But yeah, the majority still comes from search. If we look at Google Cloud, for example, that of course is growing much, much faster. Yes, more recently, the year-over-year growth rates have come down a little bit. They also told us that they are just capacity constrained, which means that if they had more capacity, they would have grown faster than what we've seen, which of course is a very good thing to hear. And as this part of the business continues to grow more and takes a larger chunk of the overall revenue, well, I do also expect that margins for this business, okay, it might not be as high as AWS. I believe AWS last quarter was closer to 39% operating margin. Google is still far from that, but I do expect Google to become a money-making machine, will have margins in the 30% in the future. And so, yes, I do expect it to become a bigger chunk of that operating income for Alphabet, for Google, right? Which right now is dominated by the advertising, the search side of the business. Now, of course, so far, OpenAI, Google, Microsoft declined to comment. Scotiabank analysts called the development somewhat surprising in a note on Tuesday, highlighting the growth opportunities for Google's cloud unit while expressing caution regarding competition from ChatGPT. The deal underscores the fact that the two are willing to overlook heavy competition between them to meet the massive computing demands. Ultimately, we view this as a big win for Google's cloud unit, but there are continued worries that ChatGPT is becoming an incrementally larger threat to Google's search dominance, which, okay, ChatGPT is very, very popular, but at the moment, I don't see the, Google search bear case happening just yet. And yes, I fully admit that in the future, it might happen very quickly. Yes, I know. Last couple of things here. The partnership with Google is the latest of several maneuvers made by OpenAI to reduce its dependency on Microsoft, whose Azure cloud service has served as the ChatGPT maker's exclusive data center infrastructure provider until January. So Google and OpenAI discussed an arrangement for months, but were previously blocked from signing a deal due to OpenAI's lock-in with Microsoft. Microsoft and OpenAI are also in negotiations to revise the terms of their multi-billion-dollar investment, including the future equity stake Microsoft will hold in OpenAI. For Google, the deal comes as the tech giant is expanding of its in-house chip known as Tensor Processing Units or TPUs, which were historically reserved for internal use. That helped Google win customers including big tech players like Apple, as well as startups like Anthropic, Safe Superintelligence, two of OpenAI's competitors launched by former OpenAI leaders. Google's addition of OpenAI to its customer list shows how the tech giant has capitalized on its in-house AI technology from hardware to software to accelerate the growth of its cloud business. So yeah, I mean, this would also mean that in a new revised deal, for example, Microsoft could, of course, now more recently, I think they've announced that Grok will be available on Azure. So with Microsoft and Azure Cloud, I guess more and more players will be able to be listed there, will be partnering up with Microsoft, because from Microsoft's point of view, of course, yes, it's great. Their investment in OpenAI, of course, has accelerated Azure's growth as well, and their stake in OpenAI, their initial investment, is now worth way more than what they put in. But I do also think that this blocked them from maybe expanding to other areas, right? For example, here, earlier this year, OpenAI partnered with SoftBank and Oracle on the $500 billion Stargate infrastructure program. Microsoft was nowhere near that. Strange, no? Yeah, I think so. Lastly here, this has been a while, so we'll see how Google is performing stock-wise on a technical basis. Over the last couple of days, we've seen a solid movement on our way up over the 50, the 20, and the 200-day moving average. We're trying to stay above $180. Hasn't happened in a while, so let's see. That's on the daily. On the weekly, by the way, RSI here is still not overbought. On the weekly, clearly we are making our way to what? Maybe a V-shaped recovery, could be a W-shaped recovery if we go back to the $140. I just don't see that happening. And if it does, then I'll keep buying anything under 150 and maybe around 150 as well. But yeah, over the last, well, let's call it 2 months or so, solid recovery of the stock. And so that's about it for me in this video. Pretty important and good news for Google stockholders. I still believe that this is a over $200 stock. When will that happen? I don't know. Wouldn't surprise me if it happens in the back half of this year. Share your thoughts down in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, all of that, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.